Welcome everyone to another episode of Expat Hoops. I'm Andy Haverman, your host. Today we welcome René Rougeau, who played for UNLV in college, and he's in the midst of it's the 14th going on 15th season overseas. This season he's playing in Finland for the Helsinki Seagulls. Welcome to Pod, René.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, looking forward to getting into you with all the experience that you have overseas, both on the court and off. We talked a little bit off the pod about this just a moment ago. Your early years of getting started are really kind of interesting, even though a lot of our guests kind of have their own unique story. It's actually maybe a little bit more unique with you. You graduated from UNLV in about 2008, 2009 territory. You're probably looking to play professionally. You kind of have, again, a non-traditional path. So at what point in your college career did you start thinking to yourself, all right, you know what, I can play professionally? And how did you go about doing that?
Honestly, not until I guess halfway, almost towards the end of my junior year, that's when agents started to reach out to me, and I was in contact with one in particular. He had played for my AAU coach, so we kind of had started a good relationship from there. He had played in the NBA for years, so he was basically giving me the ins and outs of possibly playing in the NBA, through being undrafted, and if not there, then going to Europe or overseas route. So up until then, I was just happy with being in college, being having the chance to play Division I basketball. So that was the biggest dream of mine at the time. So being able to possibly continue it, it's like might as well, doing pretty good, and then going to senior year had a really good season, even though we didn't make it to the tournament like the previous 2 years. Still had a pretty good year individually, so was very hopeful to be able to continue even after my college career ended. So my college coach had a few letters from a few different agents for me as well, but I was already kind of sold on going with the person I told you I had been in touch with through family, basically. And from there, that summer after college, basically, we trained, and it's called Impact Academy out there in Las Vegas. A lot of NBA players train there as well. So it was nice to get around some players playing overseas as well, not just NBA players, see how they train, and really opened my eyes up to, the professionalism, seeing how these guys really, even though it's off season, they're still working hard. Of course you have vacation time, but you're still putting in that work. So that was something that really caught my eye from the beginning, in the sense of, how dedicated people were, regardless of whether you're in season or off season. So it's easy to work out when you're in season, or stay in shape compared to when you're off season. So that was crucial. And then basically it just didn't go well with the agent. We had some offers, but since the money wasn't that great, he was turning offers down. So I didn't have a job basically after the summer, and that was really disappointing, to be honest with you. Seeing we had a few offers, even though it wasn't for much money, I was willing to just get my feet wet. It didn't, whether it was some looks from France, Spain, Germany, it didn't really matter about the money for me at that time. So that was kind of frustrating, and we parted ways because it just didn't feel right. Was working out with guys that ended up getting jobs overseas, and not being cocky or nothing, but in a sense of being confident, you feel you're just as good as these guys, as well as having a good college career. It feels like something should have came from that. So, to be honest, the first two agents really didn't do anything after that guy. Like we talked off camera, in the sense I was dealing with a guy who he wasn't trying to meet me halfway with, either paying for a flight to go do some G League tryouts, like in the Midwest, where it wouldn't be many people compared to where I live in LA. You can pay for the Clippers and the Lakers tryouts. It's only $150, and I mean it's like 110 guys out there. So, and even with that, I saw other players that were really good. Even some of the best players weren't getting picked. So I was pretty good off not going the G League route, to be honest with you. Even though that's a good look for your resume to just get a chance to go overseas. The more I played overseas and had guys come from the G League, there was clearly a difference in the sense the G League kind of, from what I saw, basically it was a lot of players. They might be really talented or athletic, but they couldn't really do well in a system. It's not in the G League more so. Everyone's there to show what they can do to try to get to the NBA. Compared to really being there to really understand how to play within the system and really know your role. And that's something I think, especially now you're seeing Europe and overseas is catching up to America because you definitely learn the fundamentals, basically like in college somewhat. I was thankful to have a really good college coach as well as good high school coach that really taught me the fundamentals. Going into college, felt I felt really confident in the sense of knowing a lot of just the basic fundamentals that a lot of high school coaches don't teach their kids basically. So by the time I got to college, I already felt, okay, I know the basics. Now it's time to really take that next step of really becoming a college player basically. And in the sense, since that agent wasn't trying to help me and nothing came from the G League, I decided to go with my cousin in the Bay Area for the ABA, a semi-pro route in a sense, just at least to stay in shape, to keep a good game rhythm, because I just had to keep the faith that something might come, and okay, if something doesn't come by the time this is over, I believe ABA playoffs, I think, are like in March. I was blessed to get called at the end of January to go to New Zealand for my first job. And thankfully, I had an alumni that played with Sean Marion, Mark Dickel, who his brother was the head coach for the team with the Southland Sharks in New Zealand. And he put a good word in for me. So to this day, of course, I'm thankful. I wouldn't have been able to get started without him basically putting a good word for me. So I try to return the favor for sure. Anyone ever asks me about, someone from UNLV, I try to keep up with them, of course, as much as possible, especially social media. It's a lot easier nowadays to keep up. So, or if a friend of a family or somebody I know, I'm always willing to put in a good word or give some good advice now that I'm one of the veterans playing now. So it helps to have some. I'm very thankful that I've had some really good veterans, some good OGs that really just taught me and really took me under their wings from the very beginning.
So you do get to that first overseas season in New Zealand, the interesting connection, kind of like, all about who you know, that it kind of also applies in basketball as well as the quote unquote real world.
Exactly.
So you were there 2010 February is when you actually get over there after you signed in late January. The Southland Sharks, you had a really good season there. You were named All-Star 5 after averaging 16 points, 9 rebounds a game, other things in the stat sheet, but if you could, New Zealand's probably not going to be the most jarring culture shock, but was there anything about that first season, whether it's on the court or off the court, that you kind of found to be a little bit of a transitionary period for you?
Yeah, I mean, I was in the southern island in the most southern part, basically, of the South Island. So I mean, we're literally right there at the bottom. I mean, the next closest thing was Antarctica. So they literally said glaciers would come close to shore. That's how close we were to the to Antarctica. And I was in a town that was only 25,000 people. So it was somewhat of a culture shock in the sense that it was a farming town. Me coming from California, coming from LA, it was, and being in Las Vegas, it wasn't like, it basically was somewhat more like in the Midwest, somewhere you might find in Iowa, Nebraska type places, and nothing against them. Of course, there's great teams there. Look at Iowa in the women's championship right now, Purdue, plenty of good hoopers that come out of the Midwest for sure. Larry Bird, of course, the greatest from the Midwest, I think. So it's also it's good to get outside of the city. So it really just helps you in the sense of just staying focused so when I came to Finland, it was very similar with my first stint with Karo Basket. So, being in New Zealand that first time around, when I got to New Zealand, what was that? 7 years later, I was able to adjust in the sense, sometimes you need to get away from the big city somewhere where it's not a lot of clubs and women and stuff that really just help you focus on your game. And both those places really helped me.
So you go to New Zealand first, but then you wind up spending a good chunk of time in Mexico from 2010 to 2014. During that period of time, you were an all-star champion a couple of the seasons as well. Take us through kind of like what your journey into Mexico was like, both on the court and off, and you spent it with a couple different clubs too.
Yes, I got through Mexico through another UNLV connection. So, UNLV was really good to me before, and I mean, before my season, before my pro career and during college. So very thankful. One of the grad assistants actually helped me. I was actually supposed to go to Mexicali Soles, which was right next to, you know, basically on the border close to my home. So, that was a dream come true to be able to be that close and my family be able to possibly come, as well as my coach's son, who's now the head coach at UNLV, Kevin Kruger, was there. So we would have been playing together again. So that's why I was really hyped for that. And then it didn't work out. They ended up signing a good friend, a foe from college, San Diego State, Aztec, Lorenzo Wade, who we're still friends to this day. We battled not only in the first league LNDP, but also in the second league in the CIBA Copa. And so they signed him, and I ended up going to a team on the border town of Texas, of Laredo, Texas, and Nuevo Laredo, Mexico, basically. And it was a blessing, to be honest with you, because I ended up on the team that won the championship. So I was very thankful that, just the fact that a friend from college, he would help me. He would open up the gym when I was a red shirt and I couldn't travel with the team. He would open up the gym for me and the other walk on to come in and get shots up, while the team was gone. So I was very thankful to him for helping me in college and after college as well. And it really just helped that all the guys, they already had most of their team from the year before there with the Toros, where we won the championship. The previous year they had lost in the semis, and so they basically just were kind of looking for like a good wing athletic defender. So it was perfect fit for me with the team. We had probably at least 4 or 5 Mexican Americans, basically guys that were from America, but they had, Mexican bloodline, basically, whether it was their grandma, their mother. And so they were able to play as locals. So, and that really helped us as well, having basically, but that's what a lot of people don't realize about Mexico as well. A lot of the Mexicans, a lot of them play college basketball or high school basketball in America. So that's why that league is so diverse. On top of, you have some Argentinians, you have Venezuelans, I played against some good Dominican Republican guys, some Puerto Ricans. A lot of them have played in America basically. So it was really like playing back home, to be honest with you, with how competitive it was. Even had the chance to play against a few ex-NBA guys. Tractor Trailer, right before he passed away, he was a really genuine, humble guy. One of the toughest guys I've ever played against. For him to be that size, and he had a great jumper, to be honest with you. It wasn't about him just beating us up in the post. He really had a really good touch from outside. So just seeing how this guy was in the NBA, had a good NBA career, and still doing it, years later, and still was a good guy. Was very thankful to cross paths with him. So Mexico is still to this day, very close to my heart. Still keep in touch with quite a few teammates, whether Mexican or American, fans as well. They really helped me step my Spanish bilingual game up as well. I took Spanish in high school, but it was easy to read and write it. But once you get out there, it felt like I had to learn how to speak it all over again. And I'm thankful I had teammates that were, like I said, Mexican American, who really helped me, because our head coach was Puerto Rican and he didn't speak any English. So, that really helped me step my game up. Our captain was Puerto Rican. He spoke some English, but his first language was Spanish as well. So being with them for 4 years straight really helped my Spanish. So very thankful. The culture out there was amazing. Regardless of us being in one of the most dangerous cities, it was still always love out there from the fans. We never had issues. Anywhere in the world, you have to know where you're going, and you'll be fine. Basically, you be humble, you be kind to people, and the sky's the limit. Basically, so the I won the two championships in the first league, LMVP, and then after the season would be over by February, March, then the second league, the Ciba Copa, would start, and I played with the Caballeros de Culiacan, which was another dangerous city, but it was a lot of love, a lot of the fans, people were very nice out there. It was very beautiful. It was close to the beach. It was maybe about 45 minutes, but it was lovely being out there because it reminded me of home again.
So that's actually kind of one of the things I wanted to ask you about was like the off the court stuff in terms of you mentioned the fans a couple of times there. What was it about like living in Mexico? You're there for 4 years, definitely a significant period of time. What was it? I mean, you also alluded to the fact that you've got, some dangerous cities, otherwise dangerous cities that you're living in, but you're fine. And essentially, do you think kind of being a basketball player, maybe being known a little bit in the community for that kind of either helped or I wouldn't say hurt you because obviously you had no issues, but do you think that that was also something that they kind of knew who you were and basically didn't have any issues?
I think that helped a lot too, for sure. In the sense, we had people. We lived in a hotel, and so we had people that worked in the hotel. They would spread the word, or they would help us. We would have like the hotel driver. He would take us a lot of places we needed to go, and playing for the Toros right there on the border. I mean, we were only 15-minute drive from Texas, so that really made us feel safe in the sense of when I went to Culiacan, which was basically under Arizona, and I mean probably 10, 12 hours from the border. It was a much different feel in the sense like, okay, I don't know where the border is, so that was a little bit more scary, or since I was a little more anxious. But like I said, we had people that worked for the team, the fans. I mean, of course they love soccer. That's the number one sport out there, baseball as well. But they were very prideful for sure, and I'm a very prideful player. I play with a lot of passion, so they take a lot of pride in that when they see players playing hard for their city. So, that all they could do was show us a lot of love, and we were very thankful for that.
So before we leave the stage of your playing experience in Mexico and before you go on to Israel, you're still going to accumulate another passport stamp mixed in here because you got to play in Venezuela a little bit. Can you kind of take us through a little
Yes.
bit what that experience was like? And you mentioned it a little bit off the pod in terms of explaining that, the qualification can lead you to Venezuela, but if you could just kind of take us through that experience as well.
Yeah, I was thankful, like I said, to play good in Mexico, and was able to get some offers to go outside of Mexico, thanks to playing on a really good team as well. And playing in Venezuela, the talent level rose even more. There was even more NBA, ex-NBA players there. They were able to offer more money at the time. This was before, the recession hit basically. So I remember hearing people talk about it was something was bound to happen, which the basketball league definitely took a hit because there was guys really making, I mean, serious money between, I mean, 30 to 50,000 a month. It would only be there for 3, 4 months, but it was cutthroat also in the sense, I mean, one night I'm playing against Smush Parker, ex-Laker, played for the Knicks. The next night, and I'm playing against Jamario Moon, his replacement. So, with and that's like anywhere though, to whom much is given, much is required. South America, just if you're making a lot of money, they expect you, to really play good there. So it was a really good league. There, all the Venezuelans very tough, physical. It wasn't every game was not a was not a pushover. So that really made me understand that you can't take anyone for granted. Basically, it doesn't matter if it's the last place team or the first place team. You really have to, you can't sleep on anybody. So I was very thankful, even though it was a short time there, to just have the chance to really, you know be able to take my game to another level of playing somewhere outside of Mexico, basically trying to prove myself. So it was a lot of fun in Venezuela. It was close to the beach, And like I said, that felt like being back home again. So I was very thankful I was in a good spot, even though it was once again another dangerous spot. Living in LA, since I was little, if I could live there and survive there, I feel I could survive anywhere. You learn to, of course, you have to respect the locals more than anything. That's why it's always crucial. I tell young players, you always want to get in good with your local players. You're always going to need them. Where are the good spots at, where not to go. You know, they help you keep you away from danger more than anything. So I always tell younger players, you really need to be good. Of course, you don't need to force yourself, but in a sense, you do need to, get outside of your bubble. Don't just sit in the house. I've definitely had teammates or I've seen players on other teams that, would talk crazy to their teammates. And it's like, you can't do that. I've seen guys get kicked off teams because they were talking crazy to their local players. And you need them more than anybody, basically. And they speak the language. So, you never know when you're going to need help from them.
We have merch. Head over to the Expat Hoop Store where you'll find t-shirts, hoodies, masks, coffee mugs, pint glasses, and more.
It's one of many ways you can show support for the podcast, so head over there and pick up some merch. That link below is in the video description, or you can head over to our website, expathoops.com, and click merch. We offer a couple of different Expat Hoops logos, and we have men's, women's, and kids sizes, so you can get something for everyone.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And one of the things I kind of wanted to ask you a little bit was, during the Mexican stint, you were talking about a lot of guys have Mexican heritage that they might have played high school or college in America, and that they're down playing in Mexico. And you also alluded to the fact that there's some people that had played at some pretty high levels in Mexico as well. What was the composition like in the Venezuelan league as well? Because it's a little bit further away, but at least at that time, what was it like?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was very, very competitive. Like I said, every team, they, every night, it was never an easy game, to be honest with you. The Venezuelans are very good. They're very strong. It was very physical. So it was never an easy game. They were very passionate as well, just as passionate as the Mexicans. So every game, quite a few of them have played it in America too. So that's why, like I said, it wasn't a pushover. You can tell that they take basketball very serious there in Venezuela. To this day, they're still a really good league to go play in if you have a chance to go over there.
And so I alluded to this a little bit before that you once you had Venezuela and Mexico behind you, that you were off to Israel. I think at that point in time, back in 2014, you signed a 2-year deal with Maccabi
Yeah.
Haifa. Uh, that's also another one of the things that we kind of talk about on this podcast a little bit too. That a lot of things in overseas basketball world are 1-year deal, or maybe you have like an option for the second. What was it? What was the contract structure at that time? Was it a defined 2-year deal? And how did your stint in Israel go?
Yes, I mean, that's the funny thing. Even when you sign a 2-year deal with teams, which I've done multiple times, it's still not a guarantee that you will automatically have that second year. You never know. It might be a different coach. He might not want you. Depending on how the season goes, you might be in. So it didn't feel like it was an automatic lock until, after, okay, you get that okay from your agent. So it's always, I tell people all the time that it's all about longevity. Being able to, there's nothing like being able to play somewhere multiple years. You know the place, you're comfortable with it. On top of it being a good spot, I was very thankful to play for Haifa. I mean, they do to this day. They do an NBA tour in the preseason, basically. And so my first year, we played against the Washington Wizards when they had John Wall. We played against the Portland Trailblazers when Dame, LaMarcus Aldridge, Nicholas Batum were there. We played against the Sacramento Kings when DeMarcus Cousins and one of my teammates from high school, Darren Collison, was there. And one of the Israelis, Omri Caspi, was there as well. So that was a big deal for the Haifa team to be playing against an Israeli as well. And for me, being able to go back home to my hometown where I was born, Sacramento, I had a lot of family there. So that was a dream come true for sure. And then we played the Toronto Raptors when they had DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, So that was another great experience. They had a very big Jewish community there. They were out there loud and proud for us. So that was something big for us. You know, I wasn't expecting that at all, to be honest with you. So that was something. It was great to be able to go to see quite a few cities that I had never even been into, even just while playing college. So was very thankful for that. And then my second year, we played the Memphis Grizzlies when they had Marc Gasol, Zach Randolph, Mike Conley, and all those guys were great. It was a great opportunity to really play against some good guys, and then was blessed to play against the Lakers with Kobe. So that was a dream come true. I could have died and been a happy guy after that. So I was very happy to come home once again. Had quite a few family members at that game as well. So being able to play against your favorite player is a dream come true. To this day, very thankful that I had the chance to play against him and be able to tell him, I grew up watching you. I thank you for all that you did for the city, basically. So Haifa will always be special to me. It's unfortunate what's going on, but hope everything can calm down over there. But Israel was a great place to be for basketball and just for life in general. I'm a Christian, so I really enjoyed going and seeing a couple of the different places. You could either go by yourself or you can, a lot of the taxis were tour guides, as well as we would go different places with the Haifa team as well. So it was a lot of love out there. I could have played out there the rest of my career, being close to the beach once again, only 10 minutes there from Haifa. So it was beautiful. It was so much more than I expected. I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting a lot of desert when we went out there, but it was beautiful. I lived in one of the only cities where Christians, Muslims, and Jewish people got along. So it was amazing to be out there, especially in that unique city.
So that was actually one of the things that we've talked to a couple of people that have played in Israel before, and that they kind of talk about how um, it's I guess I'd probably say, for lack of a better term, it's almost like close knit, that you kind of get to know some of the fans and that they're welcoming of you and that you may even have dinner with them. Was that kind of your
Oh
experience as
yeah,
well?
yeah. Not just my teammates, but some of the fans. They would invite us over for Shabbat, possibly Passover. So yeah, it was great to. It's always nice to take in different cultures. That makes you appreciate America even more. Seeing how other people what they do on their holidays and stuff. So a lot of the people were very nice out there. I never had issues at all there. So there was never right before I got there, all the flights were canceled at first in 2014 because there was a big confrontation, and then thankfully it had died down. And but yeah, it was always a lot of fun out there. I mean, if anything, it was the biggest thing was being disciplined, not going out a lot, basically, because you could easily go out Monday through Sunday there. So there was plenty to do, plenty of good places to eat, a lot of good food out there. So it was a lot of love in Israel, to be honest with you. I really enjoyed playing there. The competition, you could have 5 or 6 Americans suit up, so it was very, very competitive there.
Thanks to SeatGeek for sponsoring Expat Hoops. We recently became a brand ambassador for them. SeatGeek is a ticket app that takes the confusion out of buying tickets. They offer a 0 to 10 score on each ticket to know if you're getting a good or a bad deal. Green means good, red means bad. You get the idea. It's a really easy way to get tickets to events. Plus, our viewers get $20 off their first ticket purchase with the Expat Hoops code. Click the link in the description to download the app. Remember the code Expat Hoops, EXPATHOOPS, all one word, to save yourself $20 off your first ticket purchase with SeatGeek. So we're going to be entering the later stages of your career because, again, you've played for over a decade. And the way I kind of labeled this one in my notes was largely Finland, but with some France mixed in. So you go to Finland first, you then go to France, and then you've been back in Finland now for the last few years, and you've actually been with a couple different teams in Finland. And for any of your longtime listeners may remember, we spoke with one of your teammates, Terry Smith. So you wind up going to Finland. You kind of alluded to it a little bit before when you were in New Zealand, and some of the weather was actually probably maybe a little bit more similar to Finland there for New Zealand, as you might think. So you wind up going to Finland. You go to Karu Basket in 2017. You had a really good time there on the court, but take us through kind of like what led you to that point and what your experiences off the court there had been as well. And obviously what will eventually lead you back to Finland as well to some degree.
To be honest with you, at that point, I was almost ready to call it quits. It was tough to find a job. I had just after Israel, I had did one more year in Mexico, which I had a really good year, and it was just tough. You know, I had signed with an agent that basically wasn't really getting the job done for me, and so we had to part ways. And I ended up signing with someone, a Finnish agent, Jan Whelan, who I'm still signed to this day, basically Blacktop Management. And it was a struggle at first. You know, we had butted because, uh, you know, it had just been a while since um, it was taking a while to get a job. I didn't get a job. That was the first time in my career where, since I was a rookie, I didn't get a job until October, late October at that. And him being here, he was an ex-player as well. It's crazy. One of my teammates here for the Seagulls, they played together. He's 42, so he's been playing for 20 years. He just played his 1,000th game, and it's crazy how small of a world it is that we have the same agent now, and that we're on the same team. Before I was battling against him, and now we're teammates these last 2 years now. And beyond, since he got me this job for Kalu Basket, you know, he's hands down been the best agent I've ever had, to be honest with you. Not just about finding a job, but, you know, making sure everything is okay with the team, making sure everything is good with you. It's very rare to find agents like that. So I'm very thankful. And, you know, sometimes they'll have me reach out to people who are thinking about signing, and it's easy to, you know, say nothing but good things because it's been nothing but good things with Jan basically. And he told me it was basically like a month tryout somewhat, and if they like you, they'll keep you, and a possibility of a 2-year deal basically. So, you know, especially at the end of October, if you don't really have nothing, you have to take what you can get. So I honestly haven't really played. I never played in Europe. You know, they don't really count Israel as Europe, even though they play in a lot of, you know, they have Euro League, Euro Cup, Champions League, FIBA Cup teams. It's not technically considered Europe, excuse me. So it was a dream come true to finally, you know, tap into the Europe market basically. So was very thankful. I had a lot of good Finnish and good American teammates basically, as well as a good coach who he was clearly a really good players coach basically. He knew how to talk to people. You know, I've had coaches for sure that, you know, they'll do anything to try to get under your skin, and it's like that's not even necessary basically, you know, to the extent you don't have to get under people's skin to get them to play hard if they're already playing hard for you. So I was very thankful for UC Lasalle, and it's been downhill basically. You know, won the 2 championships back to back with Karu Basket, and then from there Jan got me a job with Nantes Basket Hermine in Pro B France, where me and Terry Smith played. And that was another dream come true. My father's side being from France, you know, I had been dying to finally get a chance, not only just to visit, but be able to go over there and play, you know, find more out about my history, and was thankful. And it's crazy how the world works that, you know, my father's side actually was originated from a city that was probably like less than an hour away in the city of Vendée. So it not being on the west of France, closer to Spain, basically, it was only about an hour from the beach. So it felt like being back home in LA, even though it was like the fifth biggest city in France. It was, you know, so much to do out there, great food, great culture. So France was amazing, to be honest with you. It was so much love out there. Finally being able to go back to where my roots were, it was amazing.
This is kind of interesting to me. So you go to a place that has significance to your family history, and like you said, it was like less than an hour away. Like, what sort of things did you do, if anything, that you basically got to see, like, you know, where your family was, or at least half your family is essentially from during your period of time playing there?
Actually, in the city of Nantes, there was this area. I guess it was they had like a big, beautiful mural where it basically talked about like a lot of the what's the word I'm looking for? Basically people traveled from that port to Louisiana, where my dad's family is actually from. So that was powerful to be right there and see this wonderful mural of not only whites but blacks as well. Basically, you know, see them together and travel out there to Louisiana and Canada, basically from this port in Nantes. So that was amazing. I wasn't able to actually get there to Vendée mainly because of the COVID. You know, it was basically locked down for almost, I want to say, less than a year, basically. I mean, you couldn't go not even 5, 10 miles outside of your place, you know, without a reason, basically. Like it had to be a work reason. So that was the only thing that was unfortunate. But with knowing that knowledge now, it's nothing to go back there and finally go see some family history. So I was lucky enough to have my father and my stepmom come out, and you know, I was able to take the team had put that together for us to go see this area. So that was very powerful. You know, it was great to have my father there with me right before COVID hit in January of 2020. So it was, like I said, I couldn't be more thankful. It's amazing what sport, not just basketball, but sport in general can do, how far it can take you, you know, places you've never been. So that's something that's always helped me to be humble. You know, you never know what something can do for you if you really put your all into it.
Before I interrupted you, it was the part where you're going back to Finland now for your second stint, and that's sort of one of the things also to kind of take a look at it. Except for the period of time that you're in France, pretty much a common denominator who has won the last, you know, Finnish championship, or who's been a member of that team. It's largely been you, actually. But you go back to Helsinki the second time around. Take us through what that was like. I think you were even talking about that you had a Finnish girlfriend at this point in time. So take us through what your decision was to leave France at this point and go back to Finland.
Yeah, after France, uh, there wasn't many options again. So that was something that kind of had me ready to be done because it was frustrating that, you know, you could put so much work in and it could be tough out there for, you know, the more experienced guys, you know, the more experience and the better resume you have. That means they kind of have to pay you a little more, which they're willing to take the chances on a younger guy basically because they can pay him for cheap. So after France, I'm not gonna lie to you, my coach, he had me ready to be done. It had just been a long, frustrating year with him. And so I actually went back to Karu basket first for a year right after France. The assistant coach my first 2 years became the head coach, and so he had called me up because I mean it was crazy how it happened. He told me one of my Finnish teammates had signed, and that was the biggest signee at the moment, and we're still good friends to this day. And um, I ended up hitting up one of the Americans who I won that last championship with in 2018, 2019, Cameron Jones. Is crazy. We played against each other in college and then, you know, joined teams in the pros with Cairo Basket. So he was interested as well. So it was kind of, you know, kind of getting the gang back together type of ordeal in the sense that, you know, why not? You know, the Finnish guy hadn't played with Cam, so, but I knew having those two on the team, I knew we would be a very dangerous trio, let alone with the other guys we were able to sign as well. So, and then, like I said, my girlfriend being from close by, a small town that's maybe 20, 25 minutes away, you know, her being there, it was a no-brainer, you know, to go back there. It was basically kind of meant to be. So, going back there, we were basically demolished the whole league. We won the championship, and then after that, it was a little frustrating. They basically kind of wanted to sign a younger, more athletic wing defender. So, it's part of the business, I understand. So it was no hard feelings. As frustrated as it was, that's part of the game. You have to, as you get older, that's how it goes sometimes. So was thankful my previous coach from the first two championships was the head coach for the Helsinki Seagulls, who we had just beat in the semis the year before, and we maintained a good relationship. And I asked him if you're still open on that offer. Of course, he offered me and Cameron Jones to come over here with him if we wanted to. So Cameron re-signed to Karu, so I was battling against him last season, and we basically battled all the way to the championship. So it was probably the toughest championship I had played in, to be honest with you, playing against basically the exact same team, minus two new guys that they had. It was stressful for me. My girlfriend was real close with the other girls on the team, the girlfriends or wives. So I think she was more stressed out than I was during the championship, to be honest with you. So that was a that was a very fulfilling moment, to be honest with you, to know that okay, you always have to believe in yourself. It's easy to say that, until you really, are able to prove that, then that was such a great feeling. And now this year we just started the playoffs in which, we're trying to defend the championship. So every year it becomes more and more special, basically.
One of the things I kind of wanted to talk to you about was they came up in the context of, part of the reason why you've got so much Finland experience now is because of your agent. Former player largely in Finland, but obviously also got you the job in France as well. Kind of, and we kind of talked a little bit off the pod and sprinkled some here during the course of your answers too, where you're talking about the relationship with the agent. You said that he's the best one that you've ever had, but if you could kind of take us through why you think he's such an effective agent, being a former player, and how often he checks in with you and seemingly kind of understands some of the issues that you're going through.
Like I said, him being a former player, I think that's something that not many agents who aren't players would understand. Basically, the knowing what it's like. It's easy to tell people to do stuff and how it should be if you've never really played before. So many players, go through stuff back home. You could be having an issue with your girlfriend or family. It's not always easy, basically, to go out there and perform every night. So he understood that, as well as he has, I think, at least 8 or 9 players on the Finnish national team, and basically the whole Finnish national team plays outside of Finland because they're pretty good, basically. And it's nothing against the Chorus Liga, but you want to reach your highest ceiling you can. So a lot of them, there's some that play in France, Spain, Italy, and so that's something he's kind of had a battle with, in the sense of getting his players the best opportunities possible, whether they're American, Finnish, I think he has some Danish players, an Icelandic player who's really good. So it's not just about, and then there's a lot of agents who have so many players, you tend to forget about some. That's something that, Black Top Management really prides himself on. They have a couple different agents that are able to deal with everybody, because it's easy. I've been with a handful of agents who've had so many players, I don't have a job for you, basically, regardless of how good you played and stuff. It doesn't matter if you've done good in Israel. There's none, it's easy to get a guy a job if he has an NBA tag on his resume, or if he played, at UConn or Duke or North Carolina, basically type schools, UCLA, Arizona. Of course, that's the cream of the crop. They're going to get the best, and everyone else, basically gets the crumbs. So that's something that he he prides himself on. Really being there for his players. Not having too many people that he has to deal with. So that nobody is forgotten. I think that's the biggest thing with Jan.
So another question is, because you mentioned that there's a couple of spots here where it was tougher and tougher to get a job, and you've now spent a lot of time in Finland. So how much longer do you kind of hope to play for, and what would be kind of like the next stage of your life? What would that look like if you had to say?
I honestly am just trying to play one more year. I haven't really talked about it much publicly, but hoping to work that out with the Seagulls. Me and my girlfriend have a really good situation going on here. She has a good job here, so hopefully that'll go as planned. But I've definitely been ready for that next chapter of life for sure. You know, ready to start a family. Miss my family back home a lot. You know, my sisters are getting older and grown now, almost done with college. So, want to be able to be close to my parents as well, my brothers. Um, I've already kind of been doing some training and definitely want to, stick with basketball coaching or whatever it may be. Definitely will put in some applications for NBA jobs. Whether it's a scout, something front office. That would be nice to stick around basketball, basically, even at the university or high school level. So that's definitely the game plan. Trying to help that next generation. Because there's a lot of good coaches out there, but just in my training, I've learned to, I've played the kids will listen to me more than their parents sometimes, so it's, I think it's easier to listen to somebody who's actually done it and played, that's something that really stuck out with my high school coach. He played at Arizona State against Reggie Miller. He would always let us know about that, remind us about that. So then my college coach, Lon Kruger, was drafted baseball, football, and basketball, let alone coached and played, in the NBA. So it feels like, it's easier to listen to guys who have really done it before, basically. So that's something I really want to do is help the next generation.
Thank you, René, for taking us through your decade-plus career overseas, sharing your experiences on and off the court with us. Thanks again.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. God bless.
Hello, and thanks for watching. Be sure to give the video a like, and you can watch more videos over here. You can also click subscribe over here, so you're notified when we have new content here on Expat Hoops.